Recorded.
Okay. That is loud. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you. It looks like it's just us and Gariana on the call today. Gariana, can you do roll call for us?
Yes. Tracy?
Yes. Tracy?
Here.
Justin?
Justin?
Here.
Brenda?
Brenda?
Here.
Awesome. And just so we have it on record, we have, following the retreat, we have 2 new board members on this subcommittee. So I think the first few months will really kind of be information gathering and getting people up to speed and answering questions and talking through, what the year can look like together. I've started to put some thoughts together that I'll share with you all, and then we can build off of that into the next couple of meetings. So number 2 is public comment on any item under the jurisdiction of the committee that is not on the agenda. Dariana, do you have any comments?
No, the RJ doesn't have any public comments,
Awesome.
and there's none on Zoom.
Great. So next is taking a look at the record of action from the December 16th meeting. We didn't have a very long meeting, it was quite short. What did we discussed the RFPs that went out. I think Nicole is going to continue to keep us updated on that, but that'll be some of our work here in this group, is as departments are starting to allocate spending of the $15 million excess funds, they should be coming to us and presenting and sharing information. And then if and when possible, ORJ is going to incorporate us into any dialogue around the production of RFPs for the CBOs under their jurisdiction. I don't know how we would do this because neither of them were at the meeting, Ariana. So.
Yeah, they can still take a vote.
Okay.
And they're not voting on
whether they agree
or what they heard. They're just that the meeting took place and this is what happened in the meeting. Is basically what the vote is about.
Well, then I will call us to a vote in a second.
I'll second.
Great. And then I think we can just do a group consensus, correct? Awesome. So we all say aye.
Aye.
Great. Awesome. Okay. So the meat of the agenda is going to be item number 4. Mariana, if you could pull it up on the screen as well. And then once we walk through this, I will take over screen sharing, if that's okay, and share a brainstorming activity that I put together. So this is a document that has been kind of just pushed forward over the years. There hasn't been a lot of changes to it. I'm not sure when this format was developed or who developed a lot of this content. We have made small modifications over the last couple of years, but I don't think this really fits what we're doing here and what we're trying to do. And so I'm really interested in kind of revamping this and incorporating our thoughts into like what we really hope to achieve over the next 12 months. This is kind of like high in the sky type language. And I find it more beneficial when I have like concrete steps. So like we want to do X, we want to do Y. So I think we can read through this and maybe we can star anything that we should bring forward into the conversation, and then I'll walk us through kind of that group activity. So the goal number 1 was advocating for tracking equity in the criminal justice system. I just think that's very broad, and I don't know if that's something we can tackle. So it's broken down into reviewing research based on specific demographics of race, gender, etc. Collaborating with work groups to identify some of the gaps. And then this second section is identifying the actual gaps. I think some of this in the expected outcome is really helpful, but it feels, again, very like very large. And so I would love for input on like how we think we could make these into more tangible steps. What is standing out to you all in this section? Is landing for you? What are things that are like, this is wild, or questions off that?
Well, my thing is, it says complete, so what's completed? Okay, it says,
Yeah,
this timeline is this, so that means it's complete, whatever they were trying to accomplish was accomplished.
yeah,
Whatever that was.
yeah,
And so I would like to know what was that, in mental health, is something that, they looked at, they tracked at, because I met a guy yesterday that's one of the, I call it halfway house, but it's okay. And I was just talking to him and he said that, he needed more mental health. And all this place that he's in, they basically give him room and board, So my thing is also, are there resources for you? And he was saying no, and I said, well, that doesn't make any, so that's the kind of stuff I would like to know. What did they look at?
yeah.
And how do you define completed? Because I read this, I'm like, okay. That's all I can say is, okay.
Yeah.
So that's how I was looking at it, so.
I think that's a good point, for you, because I think historically we've only seen the criminal justice system as one whole part of, well, the whole piece, right?
Right.
And not looking at the
Individuals.
healthcare portion of it. So
Yeah.
now we're realizing that there's a mental health component to the criminal justice system. And so now we're kind of making waves towards that, and so maybe that is something that we can incorporate in the future of CAD. What mental health services are we providing for people as a part of the system, right? But also, I'm looking at the goals.
Yeah.
What are do we know what our current goals are?
So this was our plan from 2024. So
Oh.
these were our goals
Okay.
for this subcommittee
Okay,
last year.
okay.
Yeah, but we have the authority to revamp it and create our own goals.
And so are we sticking to these goals moving forward, or have we decided that we have different goals? Maybe that would be the start of that conversation. Our goals are the same. Are we still focusing on these things?
Yeah. Yeah, so I think we should revisit them.
Yes.
Like you were saying, Brenda, some of this has been completed, and I think we can build off of that. And when you do that, I think your overarching goal kind of moves a little bit. So I think we as a group can and one of the things I should preface is like, this is not something that needs to get finished this week or next month or in 2 months. This is something that we can continue as a living document to build and manipulate. So I think a good goal for us today would be just to kind of wrap our heads around what are some of these areas that we want to prioritize over the next 12 months. And then we start to digest that a little bit more each meeting or bring in resources to help shape that conversation. What I'm hearing from you, Brenda, though, is on this complete thing is something that might be helpful is doing a review of the last 12 months.
Okay.
Because the reason this says complete is we brought in stakeholders from all of the different county departments that interact with AB 109, from housing, behavioral health, probation, employment,
Right.
education, etc. All of them came in and talked through, like, how are we spending the money? What are some of the gaps we've identified? What are some of the data collection processes that we go through to identify those gaps?
Right.
So I think that might be a good first goal, is like getting you two up to speed on previous work,
Yes.
right?
Yes, definitely.
That's good. I think that's a great goal. So then number 2 is developing the recommendations for each year. And this is kind of the staple of this subcommittee. I think it's November, is that right, Gariana? We make a written recommendation to CCP about how we think that they should continue spending AB 109 funding, augment it, shift it, or if there's areas that we should continue to prioritize. I was able to get access to some of the previous recommendations before my time, and they're very different. I found one in 2018 that's like a 35-page document to CCP about
A recommendation?
recommendations of all of the things they should do, and it was incredibly insightful. And so I don't know that we need to achieve that. I don't know if that's our goal, but I think reviewing again some of that previous content that was developed, maybe even assessing what's been completed to date against some of those previous recommendations.
Yeah.
And that might help us also identify some of the areas that we can prioritize moving forward.
Yeah, it gives us a foothold because we're basically out there, we're just out there. And we're,
Yeah.
you know, it's like, well, I need some kind of something to tell me, okay, this is, you know, this is what we wanted to do. And when I saw that complete, I said, so, okay, but what did you complete? That's been my main question is, what did you complete? Like when I was on outreach, you know, we did have certain things that we did and we clicked, yeah. And so we knew, it's like we wanted to contact the religious groups.
Yeah,
We got a whole listing of all of them in Contra Costa County,
it's awesome.
like 300. You know, but at least it gave us an idea, you know, of all different religions and stuff. So we knew that, okay, that's an area that we were lacking in. And I'm thinking this year they're gonna focus on that. But we had a concrete accomplishment and it felt, okay, that felt really good, you know. And then we also met with the, when we went out to the sheriff's department, you know, we got the tour of Contra Costa, and I'm looking forward to going to one out in Richmond.
Yeah.
So, and it gave me a better feel for, you know, the justice system, because I had a completely different, you know, perspective of what I was going to see. And I was really impressed with it. So those were things that we did and we saw, and that's how I am.
Yeah.
I'm that visual. I want to see, you know, or if we put down, we want this to happen, or we would like to see this happen. Okay. Then I'd say, okay, that's one of our recommendations. This is what we want to see, and maybe we can give them suggestions on how to go about it.
Yeah.
I don't want to tell them how to do their job, but I mean, you know, as a community person, we can actually see how the community, you know, deals with it instead of just how law enforcement, because I'm sure they have their perspective. And if we're going to help represent the community, then that's the kind of information I would like to bring forward. That's
Yeah, that's great.
or-
No, that's great.
Anyway, so, yeah, I'm looking forward to this.
Great.
Okay. All right.
Great, so I think some of these we should keep, right? So like this is reviewing the survey results, that should be incorporated into our recommendations. One of the things that I think I want to dive a little bit deeper into is this second bullet point. There's quarterly financial reporting that gets done to CCP each year or each quarter. And the way that Patrice described it is that it should be pretty detailed and explicit about how they're allocating and using funds. From what I've been seeing, it hasn't been. And so just starting to have the conversation in this group and then with ORJ and then maybe with CCP starts to break down some of those barriers of people maybe not fully being transparent about funding. And it doesn't need to come from a place of accusatory, it can be coming from a place of curiosity.
Yeah, we're great. Yeah,
Right.
we're inquiring. We just want people to know.
Yeah,
And then there may be some issues where they can tell us, oh, you know, we can't, you know, divulge that information to you. But it'd be nice to know.
About that.
What's that?
I don't know about that.
No, but-
There's no secret.
But when they, but when they have what they call it, when they go to the closed door, when they actually go
Closed session.
closed sessions,
Yeah,
yeah,
there's
and
like
then,
personnel transactions.
and well,
lawsuits.
when I was reading it, it didn't specify what it was, but you know, it did say how there's certain things they're not supposed to divulge.
Yeah, lawsuits and personnel transactions, but
Yeah.
these are public funds, so we do have a right to know. We can't explain what happened to this.
Oh, I hope not.
No, yeah.
No, I hope not, but them showing, you know, telling us, my question, I guess, is, has anyone ever brought it to their attention that
They go through audits all the time.
No, that we're interested in the information. No, that's what I'm
Oh,
saying.
okay.
Has it been brought to their attention?
Yeah, and so I think it has, and I think that's why it'll be interesting to go back through some of those previous recommendations.
Right.
Is they move the needle. Like there were years, I think it was in 2019 or 2020, where their budget breakdown by personnel was really explicit. It was like, we have 3 probation officers doing X, Y, and Z, like very detailed. But I don't know that anyone's been holding them accountable to continue to do that work.
Okay.
And so that might be us. It might be us saying, hey, we thought this was the expectation. How do we get back to that level of detail? Yeah.
Because I did see their budget, didn't they? I see their budget, and they mentioned number of personnel. Okay, like those are like, 3 officers or, the court needs to and I can't remember where I saw that. There was some kind of budget that they were trying to put together. Supervisors were working on it because I listened in on one of their meetings. And that's another thing too, I try to zoom in on their meetings to hear what they're talking about, especially when it's AB 109. I definitely perk up and try to hear what they're discussing. So,
Great.
yeah, I'll keep that on my radar.
Appreciate
Their meetings, yeah. That's what we're looking at.
Great, so then on the page 8, if you flip it over, it continues building on this, and this is right what you were talking about, Brenda, earlier, increasing funding for mental health, bringing together CBOs to identify culturally appropriate recommendations around mental health, and then leaning into CalAIM. I was sitting on another call earlier this month around CalAIM and kind of just like the federal budget crisis, if you will, for not a better word. And there's real concern that the infrastructure that California has set up for CalAIM, it could be a target by the new federal administration because they're leveraging, from my understanding, they're leveraging 90% of federal dollars to 10% of local dollars in order to launch and get CalAIM off the ground. I don't want to stoke fear. I don't know if that's 100% true, but what I think it is there's going to be a lot of information that comes out of CalAIM in the next several months.
And one of the good things that came out of CalAIM was this situation in particular. That people will, while they are incarcerated, they would receive certain medical services and prescriptions, and then once they were released, they wouldn't qualify. So all the medications that they received while they're incarcerated, they just can't have that medication anymore. So then it's just created this whole cycle. And so part of CalAIM was set up to where once they are released, they can continue to still get those prescriptions.
Yeah.
So, wow, to hear that means.
Yeah, and I think it's due to the breadth of populations that CalAIM is designed to serve, and the federal government is like, we are not playing ball.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
It makes sense. I mean, as far as the federal government saying this program is jeopardized, especially in California.
So more to come on all of that. Cool, so I think that gives us kind of an overview of what we were working towards last year. Any questions on that? Great, and then so if we flip to page 9, this is the priorities that we brainstormed. Thank you so much, Garda. That we brainstormed at the retreat. So it looks like we would be the 5th bullet, the 7th bullet, and the 9th bullet. So this is continuing to monitor the one-time $15 million.
Right.
That's great. County department budget analysis, which I think we've heard some rumblings through this conversation as well, and mapping of progress to recommendations to date. So I think all 3 of those, which the larger body wants us to prioritize, are things that we've brought up organically in our conversation. So I think we are aligned with what they're trying to do. So then I think we just build this out. What I can share, Ariana, can I take over? So what I was thinking of talking through today of what some of the things that we know that the Policy and Budget Committee has accomplished thus far. Some of the things that we heard or thought about during the retreat that we thought was surprising. Things that we want to learn more about while we're in this Policy and Budget Subcommittee together. And then I think building out some of the areas we can focus on in 2025. So I thought these three boxes, the pink, yellow, and blue, kind of build into what we hope to accomplish in 2025. Again, this is a tool that works for me. So if it doesn't work for you, just be like, hey, this is not how I think. And we can iterate on it. But what I'm hoping to do is kind of fill in this green box down here around, what are 10 ideas that we want to wrestle with over the next 12 months, and then bring that back to the group next month and kind of detail it out a little bit more and get it a little bit more refined. So I really want to use the next, 20 or 30 minutes that we have together to just kind of pie in the sky, what are we thinking and what have we heard and what do we think is going to be helpful. So when we zoom in here to what has Policy and Budget accomplished, what are some things that you've heard that this subcommittee has accomplished? Anything?
So they have, advocated for a change in the county's budgeting system for transparency, and it happened, so they were the result of the change. That's something that they are responsible for doing.
Great.
Oh, policy and budget. Oh, this subcommittee specifically, not just.
But that's okay. You're
I
good.
don't know what this, I don't know what this subcommittee has done.
Well, the 15 excess funds, I believe this committee was very active in how the money should be allocated. I mean, they actually went to bat. I mean, they went to the supervisor, meeting. I was there when Nicole was presenting, what's with it? GI.
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah. So this, and I believe it was this group that spearheaded how the 15 million should be allocated. This group is this much. This group is that much. And then they also went back when they were tasked with, when the supervisor said, well, wait a minute, what about da. So they had to go back and do it. So I believe I just thought you and Nicole were the two that actually spent a lot of time and energy, answering their questions, making sure you were clear on what, and so I was impressed with what you guys did. And my question is, so they've actually allocated all the money, correct? Have they allocated the 15?
Yeah, it's not all dispersed, but it's all.
No, but they've allocated.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. I thought I saw somewhere where it was.
So I think one of the things that this group has done is annual policy and budget recommendations to CCP. So that's something that has been ongoing. It's been at different levels. You'll see this year, the policy recommendation was really condensed. I think it was a 1-page because of all of the work that we had done throughout the year to produce this larger $15 million excess funds. So we've reiterated, we've done this work, here's all these larger recommendations, you should focus on this. CCP didn't get an increase in funding from 24, 25 to 25, 26.
Right.
So they just kept everything as status quo. But I think that's also something that we can learn a little bit more about, is like, how do the allocations from the state fluctuate and what are the implications of that to our budget? Anything else that you think this group has done? And I love that you both are just like, no, you don't know. I don't know either. Gariana, is anything?
I mean,
coming
I
to
don't
mind?
know. I just heard that during the retreat, that there was a change to the county's budget process as a result of CAB.
Mhm.
And so policy and budget, I just kind of assumed, but I don't know, honestly, that was just my assumption. I learned a lot during the retreat and I forgot. But
That's
I mean,
okay.
I did learn a lot of amazing things that this body of work contributed to, but I don't know.
Yeah, it was kind of hard to say for us to, see, I was more focused on OCEC. So whatever happened, you know, but policy and budget, you know, or I didn't pay that much attention to it till we got that for $15 million. Like, okay, now I need to listen more closely, you know, get active in, just active in hearing, not participating. So, yeah, that was it. And so it's hard to, you know, to splinter your mind onto something else, because when we started the retreat, when I went in, I thought I was going back to OCEC.
Yeah.
So I had my mind functioned on that. And then when they said, well, what about it? I was like, oh, I would like to do that. And when she said, okay, you got it. I was like, oh, that's all you need to do. So I'm eager to learn everything. So I would like to go back. I guess it's things on the Google Drive. You have documents on Google Drive that you guys have before. Because I was thinking about reading, you know, that to bring myself up to speed.
I think that's a good idea. I think the other thing we can do is kind of review who we hosted meetings with last year.
Okay,
So
yeah.
I think in like either next month or the following month, we can walk through that
Okay.
and how we got to the recommendations for the 15 million, because I think there is a lot of depth of knowledge that can be carried forward. So building on that, what was surprising from the retreat for either of you? Either specifically to policy and budget or to something else, the CAB as a whole. One of the things that stood out to me was this discretionary funding from AB 109 that is based on probation success and improvements. I started to dive a little bit deeper and it seemed really like detailed. And I'm curious what the county is doing in order to be intentional about moving these metrics. Because these metrics are tied to dollars and these dollars go back to these individuals, right? So do we have anything that is calling out, like I want the probation department to achieve A or B so that we get more dollars? So I think there's some questioning that we could do in that realm as well.
Yeah.
Were there other things that stood out to either of you in the retreat?
What stood out to me was the variety of members that we had. When I first came on board, it was, you know, basically just people from the community that didn't have active, you know, participation in different organizations. Like, you know, the RSC, you know, we got people from there. What's her name? One lady, yeah, Richmond, the Resource Center is a place for a lot of the,
Where we had the retreat?
yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Oh, sorry, I'm sorry. Because it's RSC to me, okay, because I've gone to a couple of things that they've had there, you know. So they have a lot of the, yeah, it's very good.
Entry success.
So it's really nice, you know, and then I met people from Rubicon, you know. I've heard about Rubicon for years, but I did not know to the extent that, you know, they're involved with CAB. I had no clue. So we got somebody now from Rubicon that's on, you know, that's on CAB. RSC, we got somebody there, we got Nicole, you know, so we're spread out more and that we can actually touch more community, we can touch more, you know, areas, because before they were basically focused on Scott. You know Scott Pearson and Crawford?
Yeah.
They had the big picture ideas, you know, and we're looking at more getting down to what's actually happening and how people are being affected. And I think that really surprised me, and I was happy to see that. Because, like I said, when I first got here, it was all big picture, you know. And now, unfortunately, when you said, no, well, you know, this much should go here, and this should go there, and there's support to say why. See, before we just, you know, like we had one meeting where one group came in and they wanted like $5,000 or $6,000. I wasn't quite clear why they wanted the money, but the group was ready to vote on it too. We said, wait a minute, but wait, no, you know, And so Crawford had said, okay, well, because it was Crawford, well, yeah, we should give it to them. And we're like, that's a good idea, but why are we giving it to them just because they asked for it? They need to explain to us, well, we want this, and then when we did tax them, well, you know, the building that we're in, that they're telling us was, we're leasing it or something like that, and they needed to remodel stuff, so, and those are kind of questions you wanna ask, you know, and you need to know, so that I'd be more willing to say, okay, yeah, well, I can see we can give you that, because to me, if we gave you that amount of money, someone is not gonna get something. And so we only have one pie, and we have to figure out how everybody's gonna get, you know, a portion of the pie. I'm not gonna be equal, but at least they're gonna get a portion, you know, yeah.
Great. Other things that stood out.
Again, I don't remember all of the specifics,
Yeah.
but there was some great work that came out of CAD. I wish I could remember. So.
You're just impressed by the outcomes?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, the work, you know.
That's great. We're just gonna build on it. That's great. All right. So then, oops, this is my first time using Zoom whiteboard.
Oh, that was, I was gonna ask you, which one is this?
I've used Microsoft Whiteboard, which was a little more intuitive for me, but we'll get through it. All right, so what do I have now? What do we want to learn more about? This is where my brain just starts going. So I was saying earlier, let me see. I was saying earlier, like there's this recommendation from the Community Advisory Board from 2017 or 2018, it's like 30 or 40 pages. I think that could be incredible to go through and see what is still in place and what did not get adopted. One of the other things that I saw, Gariana, can you flag this for Patrice, please? Is that in 2016, there was an evaluation and it was done by an outside contractor called Resource Development Associates. And it was looking at the spending of AB 109 dollars across the county. I have no idea how that was funded. I don't know if that was AB 109 funding, if it was separate county funding, if it was ORJ funding, etc. So I think looking into, like, is that something the CAB is positioned to do in a year or 2 years? And how do we get that process? Because it's 10 years old. Like it's definitely time to revisit it. And I think it would be helpful for us to create a plan to achieve that. I don't know if we can achieve that in 12 months, like go after a grant to get funding to secure an evaluation team, etc. But I think we can start to question ORJ and the other departments to understand what that process could look like.
Yeah, because it may not be necessary for us to go after a grant, because an audit is a regular part of the process, so it would be interesting to learn how it is.
Another thing that stood out to me, and feel free to chime in where appropriate, is our CBOs are reimbursed on achievement-based contracts. And
Is that how they?
I believe so. Correct, Ariana?
I think so, but I can quote
Yeah,
with
so it's like
Patrice to make sure.
numbers put into employment, they have to reach certain metrics in order to get reimbursed for their work.
Okay.
I don't think that's true across our county for our departments. And I think it's interesting that we're holding these external organizations responsible,
doing it for us,
and we're not doing it for ourselves. So again, I am coming from a place of curiosity this year, but because this is my third and maybe final year on CAP, like I'm gonna push it a little.
But I think it's like a double-edged sword, right? Because as a community, we can say, okay, you're giving these dollars to these organizations. We want to see the metrics. We want to make sure that these organizations are providing the services that we're funding them for, right? So we can do that. But then when it comes to the departments,
And it might be just that they don't have metrics. So like, could we work with them on what metrics could look like that are tied back to those discretionary dollars that the state can incentivize us with, right? Like, I think there's approaches that we could take
Okay.
that would
Yeah,
invite
I think
them.
it's gonna be your approach, because
I love it, trust me, I love it.
And-
Where you're going,
Yeah, it's like,
I love
really?
it, trust
Okay,
me, I love it,
okay.
because I hear what you're saying, right? Like, and
It
it
makes
makes
sense.
absolute sense.
Mhm.
But unfortunately, again.
The kind of bureaucracy, well, the bureaucracy is gonna be,
Right.
they're gonna push back.
Oh, definitely.
And you know,
Because
but
we are trying to hold them accountable and they don't want that. So of course,
But-
they will hold us accountable, hold
Yeah.
CEOs accountable.
So
You
let's,
wanna hold us accountable? Oh, no, that's where we draw the line.
okay. So,
Sorry.
no, and then,
No,
no,
you're good.
no, that's good. We're all accountable, and so we're
Right.
all accountable to something or someone. So
Or should be.
what should be,
Right.
so what, okay, then what makes you, where you don't have to?
Well,
So, you know, so that's the point we're saying is that, okay, we're just asking, like you said, we're just asking the question. So I'm not sure I'm sure they'll push back, but,
But
I'm not
Patrice is gonna
worried.
jump in and help us navigate all these conversations.
oh, yes, she will, because she knows,
Yeah,
yeah,
she-
she knows, okay,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay.
But what I think, like, we definitely don't have authority to say you need to do X, Y, and Z.
No, right.
But we can ask, and we are lifting up the voices of our community.
Yes, yeah.
And so I think it's important to do that.
I think we should approach it, right?
Cool. And then the other thing I wanted to learn more about was in 2018, 2019, the Office of Reentry and Justice did a public safety realignment assessment. So these 3 documents that I commented on here, I'll send to Gariana, and I think you were CC'd on the email, but we should include them in next week or next month's packet. Oh, they're like 100 pages. How do you guys consume? I don't want to print like 200 pages of paper.
No.
Are you able to read documents virtually?
I
Yeah,
I can,
are you comfortable doing
yeah.
that?
I was gonna say, can you send it to me electronically, please?
Yeah, Gariana, do you
Shredded
mind
paper.
sending those 3 documents to the subcommittee? And what we can do as a next step is review them over the next month, and then we'll talk about what stood out and what we want to, Yeah.
You know, on the computer, you can actually mark out things on the computer, so, you know, so that way, we'll know.
You came off mute, Gariana?
Yeah, I was just gonna
Yeah, I
clarify
was just
what
gonna
3
clarify
documents
what 3 document.
did you want?
Right, so the 2016 RDA evaluation. There's a key findings and budget policy recommendations from the Community Advisory Board. I think it's 2018, 2019, or 2018. It's a lengthy one. And then in 2018, 2019, the ORJ did a public safety realignment evaluation.
All right, I'll send that to
All
the
right, I'll send
subcommittee
it to
after
the
the meeting.
subcommittee after the meeting.
Awesome, thank you. So that was all me and my curiosities. What do you all want to learn about, and what would help you kind of spend your time effectively in this space?
For me, I need to be up to speed on what this committee has accomplished this last year or last couple of years. That would help me and help me to focus on where do we want to go. And also then if we've got these 3 reports that we're going to be looking at, okay, that's going to be, I'm assuming we'll take a report at a time, not just try to do all 3 of them at once, but we'll pull out one, okay, but it's just, so that's how I was looking at it.
Cool.
Yeah. We gotta start from the ground up.
I agree.
We have to start from the ground up.
Yeah.
I agree. I like it. I think this approach and just what you said and what you've outlined, this is a great start for us. We get to know like some background on
Yeah,
this.
it's gonna help me too,
Right?
yeah.
Where we are now and where we
Yeah.
plan on going in the future and just outlining things and making it very clear.
Yeah.
So being very intentional, right? So I like it. I'm excited. Very curious. I'm learner. Like, why is this? And I'm always questioning. So I like it.
You sound like me, why?
Right.
I'm like, why is that? Okay.
I need to understand.
It's like the 3-year-olds or 5-year-olds.
You know.
Yes.
Why?
Why? Someone did mention that to me. You sound like a little kid. Why? That's okay.
Okay, so then areas we want to focus on in 2025, and this is not set in stone. So this is just where is our brain right now? So from our board recommendations, we have continued monitoring of 15 bill spending.
Yeah.
We have county department, I have that budget analysis, and then mapping, I love that, mapping progress on recommendations to date. What else has stood out to you as something that you think we should focus
I guess updating our work plan, we will clarify.
Redesigning it, maybe
I like
redesigning
that.
the plan. Because we'll be throwing these things into the work plan.
These are all gonna be
Yeah.
part of the work
Yeah.
plan. And then they'll have subcomponents.
Yes.
Because I'm thinking about this like mapping progress to date. We're not gonna be able to get there until we go through those previous recommendations and evaluations, and then we'll have to think about how to compile it or condense it so that we can check it off if it's been done or not. Awesome. This is helpful for me. How did this activity land for the two of you?
I love it.
Okay, cool. So what I can do with this is I can kind of flush out, down here we have these 5 ideas of what we want to focus on. I think 3 of them were developed here and then 2 of them we came up as a team. So I can flush these out a little bit more, and I think that'll start to shape what our work plan could look like. I won't design it, it's just like language, and bring that back to you all for our next meeting. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Like I said, we're just beginning, so
Yeah.
whatever information you can get,
Right.
we're eager to,
Yes.
like a sponge, we'll absorb it all, you know, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Great. So I think that is it for our meeting today. Before we adjourn and talk about next steps, I haven't worked with either of you before, so it would be great to kind of hear a little bit about like the way you like to communicate and be communicated to, things that I can do to make the next several months easier. Like how do you want to show up in this space, or how would you like me to show up in this space?
I mean, you can email me, you can text me, because that's what Nicole does, you know, she'll either, sometimes she calls me, you know.
Oh, well, we can't do that now,
We
because
can't,
we're on the same cannot.
she was,
We cannot communicate
I
to each
forgot.
other
No, we
outside of
can't.
this.
because
little
if you are getting
space.
together, then we're recording, we can't, we're not, okay. So, how do we communicate?
Oh, it's like a brown act card.
Yeah.
Yes, it
So
is.
no matter what? Wow.
No communication outside of our public space here and in our general cab.
No, I think we should be okay.
Yeah,
because it's-
yeah, this and the general, that's it though. So 3.5 hours a month is all you get to talk to.
Well, that's gonna be interesting how I don't know, we only can do it here. That's what you're telling me. Basically, we can only do it here.
Yeah, what we've done in the past, we've shared like a Google Doc and like worked on
Okay.
that collaboratively.
Okay.
We've sent documents to Guardiana and she can send it out to the group to review, and then she compiles and sends it back to us. Yeah, so I think it's for what, I tend to have a limited amount of time in these spaces, and so I try to do things offline as well.
Yes.
Whether that's, writing something or researching something. So yeah, I don't know, just kind of opening up, and maybe we don't get anywhere with this today, but just kind of opening it up of like, if there are things I can do to make communication easier.
No, you.
I don't know, this is
Don't
all
think you
new, I
can.
just learned we can't even talk
You can say
outside.
we can't talk.
I don't
So
know.
how are you gonna,
Yeah.
I don't
This is
know.
new. We've never been in a situation like this
Me either, I'm
before.
like, oh.
Wait, hold on.
Oh.
Okay. Is there any grace for us on this? Like, could we say, well, we were new? I don't know. I don't know. I see a lot of charges being filed nowadays. I'm scared.
I don't think that,
Okay.
and
She'll let us know.
we're in a public setting right now, so this is being recorded, but
Right.
we are not working on high level issues, right? We're not talking about allocating hundreds of millions of dollars. There aren't people, I think, sitting in on this, but it's a good practice to follow this. And as we continue to move into different groups, I know you participate in a lot of different groups, like holding those behaviors.
Yeah, we had to,
is really important.
because I missed the mini summit, because we went on before, because two of the members were there, and they were participating, but I've already put it in my bid to come to the summit this year. The mini summit, and they're really interesting because it tells you how the other counties are, conducting their 8109. So it's really, to me, I think it would be really interesting, so.
And so she mentioned there was one, this month, last month. Did you go last month? Was it last month?
I think they did it again.
Oh,
I
okay.
thought it was in March or April or
Okay.
something. The mini summit. I don't think
it was last month. Gariana, do you know what it is?
I think Santa Clara
I
is still
think
trying
Santa
to find
Clara
a
is still
date
trying to find a date
for the mini
Right,
summit.
yeah.
for the mini summit.
Right.
I think my words of advice then would be to lean on Gariana at this time. She's a huge asset. She has a ton of institutional knowledge. She's very responsive and will go above and beyond anything you ask her. You're chuckling because I'm affirming you, but it's all true. And so, any question, I think she's happy to answer and help facilitate conversations between us.
Okay.
Cool, so let's talk about next steps then. So my next step is to compile that little activity we did together into a more consumable product that we can talk about at the next meeting. Gariana is gonna share those 3 evaluations and recommendations. If you can, maybe we choose one we wanna read.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
What were the 3 I said, Gariana? I'm sorry. Why don't let's all review the CAB's 2018, 2019 recommendation, or 2017, 2018, whatever Gariana shares with you. It's in that email though. I can lift it up for you if that's helpful, Gariana. Let's review that one first, and maybe thinking about like what stands out. What do we know has been accomplished? If we know anything's been accomplished, and then what we want to carry forward. So maybe thinking through those questions while you're reading, and then come back and we just have a conversation about it. And then next month we can dive a little bit deeper into a structure of a work plan that works for everyone. Yeah, I think that is awesome. Gariana, is there anything else that stands out on your end that's left pending?
No, just a few quick questions.
Yeah.
Justin, for the document that you're going to
document that you're
compile, are you going to send it to me for it to be included in the agenda?
Yes.
Also, does Monday, March 17th work as the next meeting date for this subcommittee?
Look at you. You're on top of it. Thank you. You said which date?
It's currently scheduled for Monday, March 17th at 11 a.m.
At 11 a.m.
It does work for you?
Yeah.
March 17th.
It also works for me.
That's CAP, right?
Yeah.
That's us, CAP
Us,
policy,
CAP.
budget, I just had it in my calendar, yeah. Yes, it's already on my calendar. 11. So far, yes.
Do you know when the regular CAB meeting is scheduled?
It will
For that
be,
month?
it will be March,
March
13th.
You're gonna
13th.
13. Yeah, I knew it.
He said,
It's because I have a staff retreat on the 12th and 13th. I just knew she was gonna say it. All right. Any other questions, Mariana? So the 17th works for us.
Sounds good. Justin, if you can send me that document
Document
before, I would probably need it by the
by the
10th or the 11th.
10th or the 11th.
Oh, wait.
Oh, wait.
Oh, wait, wrong month.
Oh, wait, wrong month.
No, yeah, the 10th or
Oh,
the
yeah,
11th of
10th
March.
or the 11th of March.
Okay. I will do my best.
All right, sounds good. Thank you.
Sounds good, thank you.
Ariana, can you confirm with Patrice that what I did today is allowable? With like.
Oh,
facility-
yeah.
Yeah.
Are you talking about
You're talking
when you
about
shared
the
screen and you
shared
did
screen
the
and you did
four
the.
quadrants?
Yeah.
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 Okay, because I would love to be able to do that again in the future if we can, and I just kind of went rogue. So I apologize if we're not supposed to do that.
No, that was great.
No, that was
You're
great.
doing a great
Okay.
chair.
You're a great chair.
Awesome. All right. Any other questions? And Secretary, you have the information you need?
yes, sir.
Sweet. Well, with that, it is 1:53, and I told you I'd get you all out of here in 60 minutes.
You are doing
And I'm right
good.
on it. So, thank you all for bringing your brains and your thoughts and your energy to the space. Appreciate it. And with that, our first subcommittee meeting of the year is adjourned.
Yeah.